This is the second annual Global Read-a-Thon of the Center for Studies on Africa and its Diaspora, coming to you live from Georgia State University in Atlanta. Prepare for an epic journey as we celebrate Black History Month and dare to crown the greatest book of all time. Here is our host, former CNN anchor and White House correspondent, Suzanne Malveaux.
Hello, and happy Black History Month. Y'all, I am Congresswoman Nikema Williams, and I proudly represent the Pearl Academy Math and Science Institute and Georgia's 5th Congressional District in Washington, D.C. I hope that you are all excited for today's debate on the greatest books of all time as part of Georgia State University's Global Read-a-Thon. In fact, I just signed a letter in support of an initiative to provide more funding for a program that allows schools and libraries to loan Wi-Fi hotspots to educators and students. Because y'all, closing the digital divide is essential for educational equity. Long before I served in Congress, I was a public school teacher. And now I'm a mama to an Atlanta Public Schools 3rd grade scholar, my Carter Cakes. And speaking of Carter, he asked me to share his favorite book that he's reading right now for today's debate. Carter loves the Desmond Cole Ghost Patrol series. Got to get that right. He would be mad at me. Desmond Cole Ghost Patrol series. And as the 5th graders from the Pearl Academy Math and Science Institute take the floor, I wish you nothing but good luck today and on that journey that awaits you. Thank you to the Georgia State University Center for Studies on Africa and its Diaspora for organizing today's celebration of learning, and may the best book win. Happy Global Read-a-Thon Day.
Now, our great debaters. First we have Caden, who will be debating Bud, Not Buddy. And over here we have Aria, who will be debating Gifted Hands. I'll pass it to you.
My name's Caden. I'm a scholar at Pearl Academy. I'm in the 5th grade. I love math, gymnastics, and science. This book, Bud Not Buddy, is the greatest book of all time. And I'm about to tell you why. First, let me tell you a little bit about the book. The name of the book is Bud Not Buddy by Christopher Paul Curtis. It takes place during the Great Depression and is about a 10-year-old African-American orphan named Bud, who is convinced that his father is a famous musician and begins a journey to find him after his mother passes. She told him, a bud is a flower to be, a flower in waiting for just the right warmth and care to open up. It's a little fist of love waiting to unfold and be seen by the world, and that's you. Along his journey, Bud learns priceless lessons in family, determination, and desire as we watch him bloom. This book gives a young person's perspective on topics like racism and relationships, while inviting readers to imagine their lives while walking in Bud's shoes. Bud is forced to move into the foster home of a cruel white family as he takes an extreme turn of events and goes on a run to attempt locating his father. He finally comes face to face with Herman E. Calloway, the man he's been searching for. But Herman denies that Bud is his son. However, Bud has a suitcase full of clues and is prepared to prove they're related. The plot twist appears as the characters and readers learn just how much the two are connected. Finally, the contents of Bud's suitcase provide the clues needed to prove that they are in fact related, just not in the way Bud expects. And after I tell you this, everyone would agree that Bud Not Buddy is the greatest book of all time. Bud Not Buddy taught me about life during the Great Depression, the importance of community. Rules for Survival informs me and others across the diaspora about disadvantage, poverty, hunger, and the value of family. And I looked up, there's about 50 pages about Bud Not Buddy, and it's still used in schools today. Also, this book has a lot of realistic fiction in it, and real places, like Hooverville, Grand Rapids, Flint, Michigan, soup lines. And how can we forget about all the awards that it's won? the Newbery Book Award for the most distinguished contribution to American literature for children, the Hornbook Fanfare Book Award, the Blue Ribbon Book Award, the New York Times Book Award, the Coretta Scott King Book Award, and more. And that's why I think Bud Not Buddy is the greatest book of all time.
My name is Aria, and I will be debating the book Gifted Hands by Ben Carson, published 35 years ago in 1990. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My favorite subject is math. I love to do gymnastics and basketball. Nobody will disagree that Gifted Hands is an inspiring story about an inner city black kid who lives in Detroit, Michigan with his mother and his older brother. When Ben was young, he had bad grades and grew up with a bad temper that could have landed him in bad consequences. But when Ben was young, his mother convinced him he could make something out of his life. Pure determination pulled Ben from the bottom of his class to the top. He continued to soar through high school and was awarded a scholarship to Yale University. Then he attended the University of Michigan Medical School at the age of 33 and became one of the 8 Black African American chiefs of pediatric neurosurgery. Today, Dr. Ben Carson holds 20 honorary doctorates. He shares his experience with racism and fights for justice, as well as breathtaking stories in the operating room and surgeries that made headlines across the world. One amazing case was when he separated the Siamese binder twins joined at the head in 22 hours of surgery. And once I tell you this, nobody will disagree that Gifted Hands is an inspiring story. It's a goat. Let me read some quotes from the book. Success is determined not by whether or not you face obstacles, but by a reaction to them. And if you look at these obstacles as a pertaining fence, they become your excuse for failure. If you look at these obstacles as a hurdle, each one will strengthen you for the next. By Ben Carson. And that's why I truly believe Gifted Hands by Ben Carson is the greatest book of all time. Thank you.
And now I would like to introduce to you Pearl Academy's judges. We have Callie, Carly, and Nasir. And they have been working very hard to put this program together. One of the things that they had to do was to come together collectively and decide on the criterion that they would judge the books on. They looked at things like, were there educational topics, essential topics that were covered that were important to our local community. The next thing they did is they had to figure out whether or not the books enlightened folks as it enlightened people in the diaspora. Let me change that. And to decide whether or not this work affected African Americans or how this book viewed African Americans, which I thought was an interesting criterion. Then they had to look at whether or not there was public awareness. Did people actually know about the book? We found out that some books were listed on at least 50 different pages of the internet. So that was one of the books that Caden talked about. Next, we had to look at, was it well crafted? Was it original? Were there things in there that they never experienced before? Did they personally connect to the book? Next, they had to look at whether or not it engaged cross-culturally. Did it have any interfacing with different religions or different cultures? Like in Bud Not Buddy, he lived in a foster home, and that was a little different experience for him. He was staying with the Europeans as a foster child, and they tortured him a couple of times. That was a new experience. And finally, they need to decide whether or not the reader was able to relate to the book and present it to the audience. How well did they put it together and deliver it to you guys? So I will let you guys, we're gonna have a couple of folks talking, and they're gonna come in a huddle in a few minutes and make their decision.
And it's Bud Not Buddy.